Mic check, 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everyone? I hope you're well and doing great as we get ready for this session. Bitcoin is doing Bitcoin things. What could go wrong? I am always watching for invalidation points. I am always watching for where I am wrong as a little bit of euphoria is entering the market. As we've taken out another major resistance level, we're going to make sure that we stay in front of it and make sure that we do our best to stay on the right side. The markets are getting ready, obviously, for tomorrow's CPI. And then after that, on Thursday, we have the Fed meeting minutes. Both of those pieces of information are going to go ahead and set the tone going into May's meeting of the FOMC. 25 basis point rate hike is expected. I am not sure. Now, this is barring that there's no surprises on the CPI print, that all of a sudden, instead of as per expectation, it comes in unusually low. I can't imagine why that would happen. But if it were, and if the Fed were to receive some cover, we will see the market reprice into a pause for the May's meeting. But right now, it appears that we're looking at a 25 basis point hike. I do believe that Powell is going to continue the fight against inflation and that the June meeting may indeed become a live meeting. That's where the majority would be wrong, as they are looking for this last or next hike to be the last hike. In some videos ahead, we will look at what it's like on the last rate hike of a cycle and how risk performs after that. We know over the last 4 cycles, tightening cycles, since the 90s, that we've seen over a 1 month, 3 month, and a yearly basis risk rise. Now, that's not always been the case, and we want to make sure we're prepared for everything. If you are here, make sure that you go ahead and hit the like button. If you enjoy being here, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'm looking forward to it. Let's go get it. And there we are, everyone. Thanks for smashing that like button as we get going. We're starting off here with this chart. This chart was taken off of someone's Twitter banner. the chart in the background was taken off of someone's Twitter banner. And the reason why it's here is to remind you all that there's nothing easy about it. What do I mean by that? This particular person, they have the schematic in front of them. It's like a cheat sheet, and the cheat sheet is very clear. Let me just go over a couple of things with you. You see this little, I'm looking at the cheat sheet in the back, this little area over here of consolidation. Well, it's right here. It's sloped up, but it's the same thing, right? And then you see this little move up and then down, and then sure enough, there's that move and up and down. And look at this one. I'm focusing on the black now in the background. Look at this little consolidation with this fake move down, all right? Well, here you have, watch over here, the bottom line, the top line. See the move down over here? Well, that's nothing more than this FTX bust over here. And then you have the sharp move up. Look at the black that I'm outlining, the move down and up. And price is actually tracking it really well. And of course, it's not always so easy. Over here, you upshoot on the top over here. But if you see over here, you have that consolidation occurring. The consolidation occurring. You have the wave one, boom, wave two, wave one, wave two. And this was a very short period at the top of consolidation. But look at the top, taking out the top over there. And I'm going to make a line right there. You can see price making that higher high, grabbing people off for liftoff maybe, and then bam, sending it down. And the reason I'm sharing this with you, head snack, happy Taco Tuesday to you and everyone. We're going to talk about ETH. We're going to talk about Ether's upgrade to the Shanghai update in just a moment. But first, what I'm setting this up for and why is to use this as a reminder that even if you have the roadmap, even if you have the treasure map, if you have the correct schematic, does not mean that you were going to get it right. The person, the individual that I took this off their Twitter feed, their banner, they've been short and seller minded this whole way up as price has gone 98% off of the low. There's nothing easy about it. Let's make sure that right now, as people are feeling pretty good, that we don't get caught into any type of situation that could cause us to make any type of errors. The further price goes up, the more error-prone people will become. We'll talk about that in just a second as well. What I want to spend some time doing is looking at Bitcoin and looking at potentially what would be an invalidation. You see this major breakout that occurred, a breakout above resistance. It's another, we've had the first breakout over here. This was the first major repair that has taken place. This was the bear market trend line. You've heard me say this so many times. Actually, this was the most important. This was the reclaiming of the previous cycle ceiling. That's where we dipped down under the FTX bust. You've heard me go over back and show in the December 2017 top why the highest price point, 19,600, 19,400, is a little bit irrelevant because price formed resistance over here at the previous cycle ceiling, 17,250 area. And then again, before the bull market breakout in 2020, it confirmed that broken resistance as support. It's a much more important area. And just to show you, I'm going to come back to this twice today, how it's not so easy. If you remember when we lost that previous cycle ceiling over here, as we were coming back above it, I put out a video called the bull market prediction, and I talked about the need to reclaim this level. Well, we reclaimed it once, and then we broke down below it. Not only that, we set up a sell impulse. We got positioned on the right side, which was at that point selling until price reclaimed it again. You sometimes and often it requires going back and forth around important levels. And often a lot of people get exhausted in going back and forth between those important levels before the big move. You have to stay very focused. If you want to do legendary things, well, then you must be legendary. That requires some heroic effort on your part. It really requires knowing the battle ahead. And the reason I point this out over here and down here is because right now we're looking very good. we've taken out, this was the first, the major repair took place over here, and we called it ahead of time. Then we had the second repair take place in the markets, and that repair was the trend line of the bear market. Another major and important repair. We came in for the retest, broke above it, and came into this resistance over here. I call it the Luna low, and then the 3 arrows in Celsius rally resistance. And it was a big level of resistance tested over the summer, and then again. And then we had the banking crisis. And for whatever reason, the banking crisis wound up testing that trend line again. I don't know. Sometimes these things are just coincidence, I assume. Either which way, it did. And then we saw price come up and finally break above the 3 arrows in Celsius rally resistance, 25,000 or 200 around there. That was the third major repair that has taken place. And we just keep banging off repair after repair after repair. 3 of them. And now we have the fourth. This is a major level to take out horizontal resistance, putting in the fourth repair of the rally. I'll call it, whether or not we're in a bull market, whether or not we are in what is the biggest trap that I've ever seen set, or whatever the case may be, price has been going up for the last 3 months. And you're either on the right side or you're on the wrong side. And this is something to be very happy about, claiming another major repair. But it doesn't mean that it's destined to hold. And you can't get comfortable, and you have to be looking for where it's invalidated. That's what we're going to make sure that we look at today. Let me jump back and point out as we get going over here, we have the US dollar, right? We put in that buy impulse just the other day. This was coming off basically the news of the Bank of Japan was going to continue yield curve control. They were not going to go from a policy of easing to a policy of tightening, as some people thought under the new Bank of Japan governor they might do. It's a lot more of the same. And you saw the dollar's initial response put in a buy impulse. Came right into resistance. This area is resistance. This was then flipped into support. We're right into that area over here. That's usually what happens on a breakout, into the first area, on the buy side into resistance, on the sell side into support. And it's since it's coming back in for a retest. And you could see that we've touched that trend line perfectly. And then it's a confluence of support over here. We had this trend line over here, this trend line that goes back like 2008. The years just keep ticking up. We're talking 16 years now. And, where this is invalidated, let me jump up to the daily time frame just so you could see. I don't like this view. Let me go ahead and bring this trend line up to here. I'm bringing the trend line up to where price has recently touched it. And as long as we're above that trend line right now, this buy impulse is in effect. This area that I'm highlighting here on the chart of the DXY, the US dollar index, would need to be taken out and a close below it for that to be invalidated and for a new sell impulse to be underway. This over here could get quite noisy in the next 48 hours as we have high impact news event, the CPI. There could be lots of fake outs and shakeouts, right? And the dollar is either going to wind up, if Powell, if people get the impression that Powell is going to keep strong against the fight of inflation, the dollar might find a bit of a footing here. We'll just keep with it and stay on the right side. But it's something to worry about. Not worry about. It's something to be aware of, as you've seen Bitcoin and Ethereum and crypto make their most recent leg up. It has come off of dollar weakness as we had this move down on the dollar. Let's take a look at some other potential warning signs. You could see this is yesterday's price action on Bitcoin. Bitcoin making this massive move up. U.S. Treasury real yields. This is U.S. Treasury tips adjusted for inflation, and Bitcoin doesn't always track it. It has been tracking it and pretty closely for quite a while. And until the correlation breaks, I would assume it's going to be a lot more of the same. It's inverted, and the reason I inverted it so you could see how closely it's tracking it from an inverse correlation, and it's just easier for people to see. You could see in this area, Bitcoin shooting straight up. That happened over here in September. There was a big deviation between bonds and Bitcoin. And in the past case, one of them is wrong. And in the past one, it was Bitcoin that was wrong. I don't know which one's right or wrong over here. We're going to find out after tomorrow's CPI. But it's a cautionary thing to be looking at and aware of. And there's others. There's other things to be aware of. And one of those is over here is global liquidity. And you can see global liquidity coming off over here, why Bitcoin is shooting the sky. Now, I don't know how much of a signal this is. And what do I mean by that is that if you look at tops, this isn't such a good signal. Off of bottoms, it is. Off of bottoms, it's very good. But off of tops, you could see, like, for example, Bitcoin peaking over here in November and global liquidity not peaking into March. And that's a 40% deviation of Bitcoin down. So on tops, which this might be a top over here, I don't know how much of a signal it is, but of note that it was Bitcoin that top first, why global liquidity kept rising in that situation. It's not just there. If you go back over to the last peak, the last bull market peak in 2017, you could see Bitcoin peaks, comes off 60%, and global liquidity didn't peak out to months later. So when you see people talking about global liquidity, just keep in mind that in the past, Bitcoin has peaked first. It's not really such a good indicator for tops. It is for bottoms, but in this case, we're seeing a reverse deviation. Global liquidity coming off, why Bitcoin is going up. What to make of that? I don't know. You know what? I don't think so. It's a great question, and it could be, and I've been wrong so many times. But has Bitcoin finally decoupled from risk? Is it that you see people out there watching what happened with Silicon Valley Bank, and they realize that, you know what? I want to be in control of my own money. I want to get rid of that third-party risk. Is it potentially possible that made an impression on the psyche of the average American, let's say? It's possible, but I don't think so. I think that it's possible. It's something I'm glad you're mentioning it right now. But we need more than a couple of days here to have any type of trend in place. Look, I'll pivot again if need be. This comes out, bearish case for Bitcoin video coming out this week, because if the turn comes, I want to help you be prepared. Far and few between made the turn, December and January off the lows. While we went from bearish bias to bullish, I'll pivot again if need be. I just want to point out that we have, again, 4 major repairs that have taken place. We are really quite bullish here. At the same time, we always want to be looking for invalidation points and where we could potentially be wrong. Looking at this chart, I have 2 areas that I want to be watching right now. The first would be, as we reclaim this last repair, would be price closing back below it, right? We saw over here that we took out the previous cycle ceiling, closed below it, and then came back and closed above it, and then quickly rejected again. This is an area that you had to go bullish, bearish, and then back to bullish, or back to bullish up here. Whatever it was, you need to stay on the right side. We're looking at a 3-day chart over here, not a daily, but I'm going to keep on the 3-day just because you can see over here, it's a little bit clearer over here. But right now, for all intents and purposes, just stay on the daily. All right. If we get a close below this line, that would take me from that 4th repair would be invalidated, but I would not start selling. I would just put me neutral. And it would put me neutral between 2 areas. Here's one of them. You see if at the extension of this green line over here that I'm highlighting right now, a close below that would be a sell impulse. That would be a sell impulse that would not only invalidate this nice repair that is taking place above this horizontal resistance, it would then also trigger a sell impulse that likely has us targeting the last area reclaimed, this area that has yet to been tested, and it's down around 25,200. So that's really the first thing I'd be looking for. A close below this level, that would set up an invalidation, taking me neutral, because it's possible we could get choppy over here. It's possible tomorrow's or Thursday's events, or even Fridays, we could get some choppiness over here. It takes us back down and back above. A close below the green line, though, and there's one other view I'm going to give you in 1 second. This is on a log scale. I'm going to give you a linear scale. And a close below there, that sets up a sell impulse. That it's counter trend. The trend is up. There's no question about that. But it's setting up a likely retest of the support. And just to give you an idea of around how much room is over there, that's about a 7-8% move into that area. It would be earlier. It would be early, though, if this was a fail of this support. And if you were early on this type of failure, it's going to set you up into a massive position of strength. You need to, if this support holds, though, understand that the trend is up. We're in a massive uptrend, 98% off the lows. If this holds, that's nothing more than also another positive retest, and you would be looking to stay on the right side if we had a retest and a resumption off that support. Now, we can, and of course, holding this breakout, obviously the next resistance is marked above us. That's not any type of sell event. That could be taking a piece off and waiting to see price's reaction into that area of resistance. But that's not what we're looking at right now. As we get closer to it, we could talk about it. Right now, we're looking for where we are potentially wrong. There's a couple of other things I want you to notice, though, why this green line is over here. We've looked at this many times. The last time I did a bullish case for Bitcoin video, I went into depth looking at where this line comes off of, these two touches over here. And then we looked at and how this goes all the way up, including to the all-time high over here. It's amazing, and it's neat, and it keeps going back and back and back. Nevertheless, that's neither here nor there right now. But that is how and why I got into or have this trend line over here, looking at for potentially where we have a little bit of invalidation and place to look to sell. That's one area. We have more, so let me find another one. This is the same chart, but on linear. And the reason I'm on linear over here is just to give a different view. Now, why on linear too? You could see the structure of the market. I'm going to clean that chart up for 1 second. Amazing how we came in and touched it over here during the banking collapse. You could see it. I just want to clean it up so I could just have you focus on this line over here. And it's this trend line I have connecting that December low until this March low. And I'm just going to go ahead, and I don't know which is right. I really like consulting multiple views. It's like I'm looking at something and I want to have a few different looks at it. Let me just go ahead and just retouch that line over to here. So this is, I could see where that we've had firm area of resistance. That resistance held again. We were never able to close above it over here. That's important, but I see because of the same structure is being held over here where I'm highlighting. And that's why I'm moving this line up over to here, right? You could see like it's the same structure. That's what the market's paying attention to. A close below there would be the earliest for me. Jumping back over to here, I'm just going to go ahead and take this line up now, and I'm putting this line over here. And you can see the resistance. Again, that line was touched as resistance. Here it's flipped to support. Likely a close below that line that I just moved up over here, that light blue line. That's likely, and again, up until this point, up until where I'm moving up here. But over the next couple of weeks, any close below here likely is where the sell impulse triggers. This is a little later, and I'm looking at them both because I don't know really which one is right, but I'm just trying to get a sense of when it is. When alt season? I don't know. That is a great topic that takes some preparation. And I think that's also important to distinguish what is alt season and what are some like weather fronts that come in. Because you could have like alt season to me, if you go back to the last cycle, there were two major alt seasons that occurred. This is when you have major prolonged moves against Bitcoin. Now, you know, the market dynamic has been changing. I don't think it's going to be the same. Could we have potentially different times when we see moves that are not necessarily a season, but weather fronts come in? For sure, right now you're looking at Bitcoin dominance testing a 2-year resistance level. if it breaks out above 49, you are not going to be looking at any type of alt season. If for whatever reason it were rejected, which is completely on the table, that might offer an opportunity of some type of alt season front to come in. But I still think we have a minute here before alt season. I love looking at Bitcoin from many different angles, many different views. Here's one I want to show you comparing 2019 to where we are right now in 2020. Both are the year before the halving of the Bitcoin miners reward, and you can see the very similar structure taking place. Here's that move off of the low, the move off of the low, and then you saw a lower high, higher high put in, boom, boom. You could see the slope of the angle. It's all the same. Now, whether or not this was a bear trap, or even COVID, I don't necessarily think in March 2020 was a trap. I think it was a crisis. And I think out of that crisis, we saw the Fed act and stabilize the system by just flooding it with dollars. And a very similar situation occurred over here. We were seeing U.S. banks going under and in trouble, and the Federal Reserve came in there to backstop it, right? So I don't necessarily think it was a trap. I think it was a crisis. Nevertheless, if you omit this, if you just erase this, you could see that you're looking at the same pattern occurring, including the higher high, the second higher high, I can't even say the word, so someone could type it, that would be great. So if those that don't follow my work regularly, they might not know what all that gibberish means. But you could see that it's very similar, highlighted even here in yellow, the same pattern taking place. And the beginning even, the resumption up, could it be kicking off a much bigger move? Could this move be the move that actually takes us through multiple resistance levels, taking us as far as, let me zoom out a little bit. Let me zoom out on my log chart. There we go. Could it be even taking us towards the 0.786 retracement fib, right around $49,000, $50,000 that has occurred in the previous two cycles? It could. We just don't know. We just don't know. And also setting up for when we're looking at another topic of conversation. Alt season is one that we need to cover. Another one is going to be, a lot of people are going to be talking about expecting new all-time highs in 2023 before the 2024 halving, which could happen. I mean, for sure it could happen, but we want to be prepared. We want to take a look at it, consulting the opinions of those that just throughout the whole 2022 for this 80% down move held that opinion. Right or wrong, it's what they did. Who over here at the bottom, I mean, they were like the bottom's in, the bottom's in, the bottom's in, the bottom's in, but they still hold that opinion. We want to be very familiar with that view, with that perspective, because it could happen. Or what you could see as we get close to a level that has happened in previous two cycles, you could see a lot of people all of a sudden starting to really FOMO as a lot of people talk about those new all-time highs coming. Which is why, again, we want to follow what is happening. Now, I know, and it's true, I'm going to jump over here and just jump down to the 8-hour time frame. And it's true that we have, obviously, a massive edge over here, a mechanical system. Who over here was buying? Selling, obviously, throughout 2022, massive profits made on the short side. But who was looking to buy and hold over here? And I tell you, it's a massive edge because you don't know what is going to happen, but that's actually not for right now. I want to keep going and discuss this topic of conversation that we've built up. And the reason I point this out is because this could very well happen. We want to be aware of everything. And just like we're looking at now where invalidation points happen, where we're wrong, at the same time, we want to look at what is happening and what is rhyming a lot and what our expectations could be for the upside, because you do not want to be participating when Bitcoin is doing Bitcoin things. Now, I like to consult things from all different sides. You're looking here at a 3-day chart, so you're not seeing the move that has just occurred. Okay. Now, where is price currently trading at? Price is currently trading at 30,140. 30,140. All right. So down over here. Now, the reason this is over here is to show you when we might have some potential resistance. That's coming in right now. This resistance is coming in the area anywhere from 35,000 sloping down towards 34,000. We have above us some horizontal resistance coming in. Let me just get a look at where that is, y'all. All right. A little lower. This is coming in at 32,000, close to, I have it at 32,500. I'm looking for where that other resistance might be. You could see those two touches on the far left, right? 1, 2. Is that there? I don't know. And then the next thing I want to do is just go ahead and bring this down a little bit. And I want to see if right now, I do not think that we're into any type of resistance, but price is trading up a little bit. I don't think we're into any resistance. It's kind of neat seeing if you focus on this touch here, flipped into support, again in support. On this breakout, you see again that was flipped into support. That's kind of a neat level to be paying attention to, I think. Right or wrong, I like to consult many different views to have my bearings. This needs to come up, actually. This was, who posted this? Hold on one second. I'm not sure what this is over here. That's silver. Boom, over here. This was coming up from last week's live stream. Could we take a look at natural gas? This is a chart from my friend Hamid, and he's showing over here a really good look at natural gas. Look at this line of resistance. Here's a second touch onto it, right? Third touch. And then you could see that this became that support. Sorry about that. Well, it's resistance now because price is currently under it. But it was support up until now where it's tested finally as resistance, again as resistance, and that's where we're coming into now once again. Now, you could look at the RSI, and I do not really consult the RSI very often. And I guess the thing about RSI is that you could come into an area over here and say that's overbought and price gets rejected. Or over here, you could get into an overbought area and then look at this massive deviation down as price goes and melts up because overbought could remain overbought. So I'm going to pay attention to the top portion of the chart and focus on the technicals. And a close above here is setting up a major potential buy on natural gas. Why a little late? I think that it also still offers a major breakout of a very strong level. So those that are looking at or interested in natural gas now, in case you see us take out this area, then take out that major horizontal level, and all of a sudden everyone will be talking about natural gas a little late. This is very difficult. I just want to point this out because trading is never easy. I think I started off this entire session today talking about you could have the map and still get it wrong. Look at this massive trend line break that occurred over here. It's a very clear level, right? And the breakout is whether it's here or here, same difference. Look how that was taken out. That's where the stop loss would be, right? From the lowest low. And look at that taken out over there. And then, boom, that's the bottom. Trading, this is not natural gas. What are we looking at, Steve? Steve, help me out if you could. I would appreciate just a little bit of assistance over there. What's natural gas trading at? I thought it was trading at somewhere around $2. Anyway, if you could help me up, and Steve, I want to always know what's right. If you could give me a little bit of clarification over here. But more importantly, the TA stands the same for what we're looking at over here. Can you briefly go over long and short indicators on CTM and what those indicators are telling us? Natural gas season. Wait, Steve, if you give me a ticker, I'd appreciate that. We're going to get into a little bit Alpha Mike in 1 second because I have a frequently asked question to go over when it regards to CTM 2.0. But first, I just want to mention that while we have the CPI tomorrow, we also have the Shanghai upgrade and it's scheduled to be occurring approximately about 4.5 hours from now. So it'll be well after the CPI is out of the way and digested, and then we will have the major Shanghai upgrade occurring on Ethereum. It has been, let's take a look at Ethereum versus Bitcoin for a second then. Thanks, David. I mean, it's close enough then in my book. Let's take a look at Ethereum Bitcoin cross as we're getting close here for the upgrade. And the reason I want to bring that up is because what I thought was going to happen is that we were going to be looking at something, you know, the old adage, and it's buy the rumors, sell the news. Now, for at least a month, I think a little bit more, we've been talking about how on Ethereum I felt into this upgrade, and for the reasons that people are expecting staked Ethereum to be able to be withdrawn, for that withdrawn Ethereum then to be put out into the market. And there's a little bit of cautionary, not so much about the upgrade going through smooth. There could always be a problem. There could always be a bug. There's no question after the move from proof of work to proof of stake that you have to give the team credit about what they've done. I would assume that everything is going to go well on the upgrade. There's always a risk. However, more importantly, I think it's a psychological risk that people are afraid that there's going to be a dump of supply coming onto the market. Now, I don't know about that. I do know that the availability of that staked Ethereum is going to be rolling out in different types of schedules. It's not all at once. I'm not so sure if I had staked Ethereum that I would, at this point of cycle, be looking to sell it. Actually, more people might be inclined to stake Ethereum, knowing that it could be withdrawn. We'll see what happens. But I'm looking at Ethereum Bitcoin from the red and green bars. You're looking at a CTM 2.0 strategy, and you know why it offers massive alpha. It's hard for me to execute off of this only because versus the US dollar, the profits for both Ethereum and Bitcoin are significantly greater. I could see someone potentially doing this from wallet transactions going only from Bitcoin to Ethereum. But if you're looking at a net profit potential versus the dollar, in my opinion, the data backs it up, offers much better alpha. You could see over here that, you know, why CTM 2.0 is short Ethereum, long Bitcoin in this situation. I think that I would have, and this is where we call that the trend line break, right? You're coming into an area of support. You have support right here that we're into, and support, I thought that this would be, instead of a sell, buy the rumor, sell the news event, that it would actually be a sell the rumor, buy the news event, assuming everything goes through okay. And I do believe that. You have seen Bitcoin dominance pick up. You have seen Bitcoin outperforming Ethereum versus the US dollar. I do believe after the upgrade that we should see some volatility return to Ethereum, and that Ethereum on a net basis will begin outperforming Bitcoin. Now that's dependent on the macro, meaning if we start seeing risk come off and Bitcoin coming off and Ethereum coming off, I think Ethereum on the downside is also going to outperform. Also on the upside, now where the invalidation or where I could be wrong on that, this time of cycle, this about a year before the halving, usually you do see Bitcoin dominance picking up. So, you know, that may or may not be correct. It's my opinion that in the next few months, during the next quarter, we're actually going to see Ethereum outperforming, whether it's on the upside or the downside, but we'll keep watch of that. We'll keep track of that. As I mentioned before, tomorrow is the CPI. Expectations are that it will come in at year over year, 5.2%, and core CPI month over month will come off to 0.4%. If there's a surprise where this comes in not as per expectations, but higher, we could actually begin to see, as of right now, we're seeing a 75% chance of a 25 basis point hike. We could actually start seeing the June meeting begin to price in a hike as well. So that's if this CPI comes in not in line with forecasts, but comes in a little higher, we're going to start seeing a 25 basis point hike in June beginning to be priced in. Now, is it possible we go from pricing in a 25 basis point hike to not? Is it possible that we see the data come in really softer than expectations? If that does happen, I do not think it will, then we would see the Fed potentially moving towards a pause at the next meeting. Question came into regarding CTM 2.0. I also have a frequently asked question, so I want to talk about it. I did not like yesterday Bitcoin entering into the market chasing. Now, from a traditional TA standpoint, you could say, all right, well, you know what? Breaking above the resistance, that's a buy. I think it's late. I personally think it's very late. I don't like chasing price like that, but I can say, and I'm going to just zoom out over here, this is the banking crisis, right? CTM 2.0, waiting that out on the sidelines. When it took this long, a lot of people really thought that this was chasing price, and price was very, very, very overbought, which indeed it was, but nevertheless, CTM 2.0 able to put into a nice trade. It's not the only time that has happened. It's happened at other times. I'm trying to look for it. Well, here's an example of it getting right, but not being able to profit. That's basically, small winners, small losses, cutting your losers short, pushing your gains. But this is one where it looks like it's chasing price, and why it wasn't able to capitalize. It did get out. Now, look, it's hard to refute going against the strategy itself. This is the last 2 years. This is going back right now, or starting the back test now, coming back to CTM was not trading live in the markets in 2021. This is starting exactly 24 months from now. I just want to confirm that. That's why I'm going back. Yeah, this is May. Well, almost. I'm off by a month. Let's come back into April. And you know what? If you think in the last 2 years on a drawdown as well as return basis, you've been able to perform or outperform CTM 2.0, then it's going to really help you realize that regardless of whether or not this entry is late or not, it's only by going ahead and taking system signals that's going to keep you on the right side. And it's not about any one individual trade. It's about trading the system mechanically, which is designed to go ahead and cut its losers shorts, push its winners, and make sure that it stays on the right side. By the way, just to give you some perspective, if you come over here to 2017 and you want to just look at what's going on, I mean, if you think that you're going to outperform, what about that, Jordan? That's a bull market. What about from 2018? That's the top of a bull market. Again, if you think you're going to outperform, that's what it does. So I didn't like that entry, and it's currently sitting into profit, but we have some high impact news events coming up. I wouldn't be surprised if it eats a stop loss. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised either if it goes on to do CTM 2.0 things. But nevertheless, I'm always prepared for each trade that I entered, understanding that, basically 6 out of every 10 trades, I'm expecting to stop out, right? A little more, you could say. My win percentage is roughly 39%, regardless of how far I go back. And that's what my expectations are. My expectations are 6 out of every 10 trades are going to stop out. So it's not really about any individual trade over here. Although, of course, I want the trade to work out. I don't know that it will. You could have an exit if the stop loss is reached at any time, and that stop loss could occur 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It could be reached at any time, and that is an exit. The only other exit you could have, because it begs the question over here, that was me pointing out that I'm not a fan of chasing, but who am I to argue against CTM 2.0? Do we have a take profit for the active Bitcoin long, right? And look, you don't put any take profits in The system takes you out of the trades. I said I'd go over that now, and just let me show you one more thing before I do. This is just jumping over to the list of trades, and you can see that the system is designed to take small losses. You can see over here the profit, the losses that are occurring, and some nicer sized trades. And if you go back, you can see that the system is taking small losses, and looking to capitalize on bigger trades that occur. That's what it's designed to do. Those exits could occur at it only during 8-hour periods. If you were to see this deviation that just crossed positive, cross back below the zero line, that would be an exit. The exits could only occur on 8-hour intervals. So you don't necessarily, it's not that you need a stop loss to occur. The stop loss is 3% here on Bitcoin. And you can see that the system takes a lot of trades that are less than the 3% stop loss. It's because it could exit the trade anytime criteria no longer exists. So the two main points that I want to hit on for you is that system exits occur, either a stop loss being hit at any time, or you could have an exit occur in 8-hour intervals if you're trading on the 8-hour. If you're trading this on the daily time frame, that obviously is only once a day that you could have an exit signal, and you could have a stop loss hit at any time. And here you could see Bitcoin here doing really well in 2023. Capital short side, great in 2022. And then you can see the long side here, beautiful in 2023. And that's a little bit of insight to what's happening over there. If there's any type of questions, please let me know. I want to make sure that I'm able to bring the most clarity that I can. Yeah. Look, Vakanet, I also want to bring up for you, this is very, very important. It is also potentially possible at any point in time, you could see there's a big fight going on, right? And that fight is between really the CFTC and the SEC, and they're both jockeying for position over the cryptocurrency market. You've seen lots and lots and lots of SEC interaction. And then you saw a big one, CFTC currently versus Binance. And CFTC is kind of leaning towards Bitcoin is a commodity, Ethereum is a commodity, but staked Ethereum, no. Security, potentially. It makes it all very messy. At any point in time, it is a threat that it could be declared a security. U.S. exchanges, at least, would not be able to offer it. And there's a big difference between Bitcoin, a big difference between Ethereum, and a big difference between cryptocurrencies. Some people like to say that, like, well, they don't consider Ethereum an altcoin. Well, it is. It's an alternative to Bitcoin. Bitcoin goes in a category of itself. And we have to put Bitcoin, held offline in cold storage, multi-sig, preferably, as a whole different strategy than what we're talking about over here as we talk about trading markets. When we're talking about trading markets, I consider these to be fiat strategies. These are fiat strategies versus the US dollar, and it takes place in a base account, usually that is in fiat as well. Some people trade the inverse. You could trade Bitcoin off the top of Bitcoin and whatnot, but the way that I view it is it's a fiat strategy. Now, I think that Bitcoin in cold storage is a separate strategy in itself. That is a hedge against the current financial system. I think it's foundational that everyone should have it. But at the same time, I just want to differentiate what we're talking about over here and make the difference and just kind of remind myself constantly to be pointing out the difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum, between Bitcoin and crypto. They are very different things, which have very different risks. Now, with that all being said, we were very close to this session into getting 100 likes. There are 145 people here, so 96 likes is pretty strong. Grateful for each and every one. If you didn't yet get the opportunity to hit the like button, or if you thought it was a very poor session and want to hit the thumbs down, Either way, could you please go ahead on your way out today and just leave a little bit of love? Everyone, thanks for being here. And I hope that you found, if you're watching this on the replay and you made it all the way to the end, in the comments, please share something that you took away from this session. There was a lot shared, a lot of valuable information shared. Anything that you were able to take away, please go ahead and share and highlight that so that I could bring it up to others in the future. Everyone, have a beautiful day. God bless you, and I'll talk to you soon. All right. Thank you for the love. I appreciate it very much. Thank you, everyone. Lots of love. I'll talk to you later.